Welcome, everybody, and thank you for being here today. My name is Prajakta Damle, and I lead product management for Dataplex at Google Cloud. And joining me today is John Allen, head of data and analytics product strategy at Deutsche Bank. John has been with Deutsche Bank for over 9 years, building their data platforms and enabling and championing big data and data science within the organization. Welcome, John, and thank you for your partnership as well as for being here today to share Deutsche Bank's data journey with us.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here with you today.
Likewise. So let's get started. Let's take a look at the enterprise data landscape, which, as many of you know, is diverse and becoming increasingly distributed, with data that is stored in data lakes, data warehouses, specialized data marts, and databases, not only on GCP, but on-prem, as well as in other clouds. Now, each one of these systems have their own way of handling metadata, security, and governance. So, on one hand, while the data is becoming more distributed, the number of users within an organization that need access, self-service access to this data in the tools of their choice is also growing. And as a result, companies often find it challenging to consistently manage and govern their data while making this data universally discoverable and accessible to their data consumers. Honestly, it's an operational nightmare that often results in data silos and impacts the overall analytics agility of most organizations. If you look at the data, 67% of the data that is produced is actually never analyzed. And 68% of the companies are unable to realize any tangible, measurable value from their data. What is even more surprising is that only 16% of the data consumers that have access to data actually trust the data that they have access to. And this is exactly why we built Dataplex, an intelligent data fabric that unifies your distributed data to help automate data management and power analytics at scale. So, what does that actually mean? So, let's double click a little bit. Dataplex is built from ground up for distributed data, requiring you to not move your data or duplicate your data. At the foundation of Dataplex is its ability to logically represent data and unify data from a metadata perspective, regardless of where this data is stored. We have focused on three key areas of value: intelligent AI-driven data management, centralized security and governance, and an integrated analytics experience, bringing together both GCP native and open source tools. All of these areas are tightly integrated in a task-centric experience, helping you build a flexible data platform and making this data accessible to your end users, while ensuring that your policies and best practices can be consistently enforced. Now, this is a vision for Dataplex. We are starting out by unifying the data that our customers use for analytics on GCP before extending it to other sources outside of GCP. Taking a closer look at that task-centric experience, we've built an experience that focuses on the operations that you need to undertake on your data on a daily basis, starting from curating and managing that data to monitoring, securing, analyzing this data. We have built key integrations with existing products such as BigQuery, Dataproc, Google Cloud Storage, Data Fusion, Data Flow, Data Catalog, and others to really bring together that single pane of glass that you can use to curate, manage, monitor, secure, and analyze your data. With Dataplex, you can really organize your data in a way that is meaningful for your business around different domains based on how this data is produced and owned, or how this data is used instead of where this data is stored. You can define standardized policies around access control, data quality, data classification, and lifecycle management. And you can leverage the built in data intelligence and metadata propagation capabilities of Dataplex to get out of box access to this data from a variety of tools, both GCP native as well as open source. We have a number of customers who have been our early adopters using Dataplex, and these customers range or come from various different industry verticals as well as geographies. And they're using Dataplex as that foundational component of their data platform and seeing value in having this unified data fabric to manage and govern their distributed data. And today, I'm really happy to have John here with us, who is going to talk about how he sees the value of data in the overall strategy at Deutsche Bank, his vision for the data strategy, and the role that Dataplex plays in realizing that vision. So, welcome, John. We are
Thank-
super excited to have you here. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself first, and then a little bit more about Deutsche Bank and how you use data today?
Sure. Well, thanks again. It's great to be here. So I work within Deutsche Bank's Chief Data Office, which is part of our Technology and Data and Innovation Division. And our goal is really to enable the secure supply, preparation, and analysis of data across the entire organization. Now, in my role, looking at product strategy, I spend a lot of my time working with the business teams and technology vendors to ensure that we have the right roadmaps in place to deliver those capabilities. Deutsche Bank is the leading German bank. We have 84,000 employees and operate just under 1,900 branches with offices in over 50 countries. The bank comprises of 4 client-centric divisions: a corporate bank, a private bank, an investment bank, and an asset manager, DWS, which Deutsche Bank maintains a significant stake in. Now, being a global bank, we rely upon a very complex global technology estate comprising of tens of thousands of machines, thousands of applications, and hundreds of operational and analytical data stores. Our total data footprint is in excess of 100 petabytes, and we use that data for a wonderfully diverse set of use cases. Trying to think of some in terms of some of the more interesting ones. Our front office team use data to drive real-time analysis and low latency algorithmic trading, and allows our product managers to develop highly personalized client offerings. In the middle and back office, we leverage big data processing to help manage risk and to prevent fraud. And like any business, we rely upon highly accurate and timely financial data to serve regulatory and financial reporting requirements.
It's you operate in such a global market, and the complexities of operations that you just mentioned across different businesses within the bank is quite interesting. What role does data play at Deutsche Bank, and what has your journey with data been like so far?
Well, I agree. I mean, fundamentally, we're a data business, and data is the digital manifestation of our clients, their transactions, and relationships, and our internal processes. However, we didn't always view ourselves as a data business. Instead, we had a more application-centric mindset, which saw data as more of a side effect of that application processing. We locked data away in disparate silos with inconsistent taxonomies and formats, and a lack of clear ownership, and an over-reliance on bilateral point-to-point data feeds. So to address this, we established a long-term plan, our data strategy, to improve the availability of high-quality data, organized around a set of consistent data models and golden sources, to uplift skills in data and increase understanding of data problems across the entire organization. And we set out to enable modern analytics, such as big data and machine learning. The transformation took sustained investments over many years and was executed in an environment of ever-changing regulations. Just as an aside, last year there were over 6,000 pages of new rules that we needed to examine to understand their impact on that data landscape. Today, we are a much more data-centric organization, which actively manages and improves its data as part of the normal day-to-day operations. We operate an integrated ecosystem of analytics platforms, and we have the key trusted sources of high-quality business data needed to drive intelligent decision-making. I know you asked for successes, and I think, frankly, there are too many to mention, but from my personal perspective, I think the work the private bank has done creating new personalized offerings for our retail clients through the application of machine learning is especially cool, as is the big data processing that our risk teams use to allow us to be much more efficient with our capital.
It's quite interesting to hear how you have made this transition, or the bank has made this transition from an application-centric view to a data-centric view in an industry that is so highly regulated with, as you just mentioned, changing regulations and compliance rules. So what have been your top learnings and challenges so far?
Well, for me, some of the most significant learnings relate to governance, ownership, and how we as an organization think about data, our data culture, if you will. Foremost for me, data needs to be treated as a first-class citizen within the enterprise if it is to be used and reused effectively. It must be seen as an asset in its own right. Also, finding the right balance between security and stability, coupled with agility to deliver analytics and help customers, is difficult. Maintaining distinctly separate operational and analytical organizations fails to deliver analytical stability and efficiency. What I mean there is, this is when those teams do not use and thus value each other's representations of what is, in essence, the same data. Metadata is also a critical foundation for effective data management and data governance. However, building and maintaining a unified repository of high quality metadata is a significant challenge in traditional IT environments. And finally, I think whilst centralization of data can seem like an attractive approach to achieving consistency and standards and the application of policies, it very often leads to bottlenecks that inhibit business agility.
So given these learnings, especially learnings around how to build trust in data, how to avoid data duplication, how to put better data at the center and foundation of your data platform, could you share with us what is your short-term and long-term data strategy for the bank?
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, our goal is to democratize the use of data and analytics by making it a secure and frictionless self-service experience. Only then will we be able to make data accessible to everyone and not just the data experts within the organization. And we intend to do this by investing in the automation of controls and policies, which, along with high quality metadata, technical, business, and contextual metadata, will allow us to build a data control plane that ensures that our data is easy to find and access, yet always remains secure wherever it is used. Now, currently, we're completing our transition to managing data as an asset, changing our IT processes to allow data to thrive outside of those owning applications we traditionally had. We're also converging on common approaches to data sharing and data reuse, which use streamlined data governance processes, a new unified repository of metadata, and automation to make our data more accessible. To help our engineering teams, we're also developing standard reference architectures for common data problems, such as streaming and batch analytics and machine learning in GCP. And finally, we're investing in our people with training in cloud and agile data best practices.
So, speaking of cloud and your partnership with Google Cloud, how has Google Cloud helped you realize your data vision?
Well, the partnership with Google has given us a fantastic base to build our future banking services on. Technologies such as GCS, BigQuery, Dataflow, Dataproc are much more powerful and easy to use than our on-premise equivalents. Likewise, Cloud SQL, Data Store, GCE, App Engine, and PubSub for transactional systems. However, for me, what's really exciting is the advancements in machine learning that Vertex AI and BigQuery ML can bring. But that's not to say it's all plain sailing. There is still a lot of work to integrate and assemble these products into effective business solutions. And this is especially true in a risk-averse, highly regulated industry such as ours. Speaking frankly, there is still quite a gap to close. I think this is an area where we see the partnership being especially beneficial. So Google understands this complexity, and together we are developing approaches to solve these problems in the cloud. In fact, we are already seeing some exciting product developments from Google. A good example of that is indeed Dataplex.
Your team has been an early adopter of Dataplex, and your close partnership is extremely valuable for us as you provide us, product guidance on product direction. I would love to hear more about how you see Dataplex fit in your overall data strategy, how Dataplex is helping you with some of the data challenges that you mentioned early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are looking to use Dataplex to give us a way of organizing our data around our core business and data concepts, such as global markets data, payments data, customer data, without having to copy that data from its originating mastering application projects. Dataplex's lakes and zones give us an elegant way to group our data assets, depending upon their type, their quality, or their stage in their data lifecycle. Now, we're experimenting with the designs for operating this at an enterprise level, but these zones are a very important concept for us. In fact, we implemented something similar in our on-premise data lake. However, with Dataplex, we can take this to the next level, realizing a much more federated system, employing a type of data mesh architecture, if you will, where data remains in situ, owned and governed by its originators, yet still part of a unified platform maintained by Dataplex and integrated with a set of leading analytical tools. I think GCP's data catalog also gives us amazing capabilities. It gives us visibility of key organizational data assets. But with Dataplex, we can go a step further and extend the data catalog with the automated discovery and classification of semi-structured and unstructured data. Now, ensuring our data is secure is of paramount importance, and we're investing heavily in the automation of controls and embedding those controls into our infrastructure as code and as policies. However, today, we still need to develop those controls for each data service we use. We also need to find a way of enforcing them through infrastructure as code templates and tools such as Terraform. This adds complexity. With Dataplex, we have the potential to develop these controls once for the lake, zone, and assets, and let Dataplex do the hard work of applying them to the different underlying technologies. And the plans Dataplex has for extending this policy-driven approach to include data governance, data management, and data quality tasks is particularly exciting. We can imagine a world where we assess, transform, and promote our high-quality data based upon policies and not hand-coded data pipelines, allowing us to focus more on the value-creating tasks and less on maintaining boilerplate data integration. So in summary, I think we see BigQuery for analytics and Dataplex for data management as cornerstones of our vision for enabling a secure and frictionless data experience in the cloud.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you for sharing your insights and perspective with
You're
us
welcome.
today. And also, thank you for you and to you and your team for your continued partnership. So as you heard John just outline, Dataplex helps enterprises unlock the freedom of choice by providing them the flexibility to keep data where they see fit and to use the tools that they need to run analysis within their organization. Dataplex provides a way to enable consistent controls across enterprise data landscape that is inherently distributed. And finally, with Dataplex, our customers can leverage the built-in data intelligence to automate many of the common data tasks around data management and governance across their data estate. So that's all that we have today. If you would like to learn more about Dataplex, do check our website. And thank you, everyone, for your time today and for attending this session on how Dataplex helps enterprises break down their data silos. Thanks again.
Thanks.